lecture on Unit 3, Forces. And this basically states that we're talking about Newton's first law of motion, which is the law of inertia. So if we talk about the first law here and what the learning target actually is, it's really not changing too much except the fact that we are discussing a different law. You're still going to describe and predict motion of an object based on the forces acting upon that object, and you're also going to quantify forces on a force diagram. This time you must explain what's happening to that object in terms of its inertia. Well, what's the law of inertia? Well, if we look here, the law of inertia states that objects are going to remain as they are unless there's an unbalanced force. You've probably heard the phrase that objects in motion tend to stay in motion. Objects in rest tend to stay at rest unless they're acted upon by an outside force. Well, we've kind of redefined that force must be unbalanced. And if we have an unbalanced force, that's going to cause an object to accelerate, speed up, slow down, or change directions. So if we look at this picture here, inertia is kind of explained using these two cars here. And if we look at this cartoon, the first one says, I'm not going anywhere unless something forces me to. So again, an object at rest is going to stay at rest unless something forces it to move. The bottom car states that I'm going to keep going until something stops me. Well, that is true. It will keep moving until an outside force stops the motion. So that's what inertia is. That's what Newton's law is, that these objects are going to stay as they are unless forced to by an outside force. So what is this term inertia? Well, there's a demonstration here and you can check that out. I'll provide the link to you in the comment section below on the YouTube video. However, inertia is defined as an object's tendency to resist change in their state of motion. So objects are going to resist forces that are applied to them. That's what inertia is. So if an object has a greater mass, it has a greater inertia. For example, if I am trying to push a huge boulder, that boulder has a large mass. It's going to take an unbalanced force to move it because that boulder has a great mass. It's going to want to stay in its tendency or state of motion. So I have to apply enough force to it to change its state of motion, which would be going from rest to going into motion. I must overcome its inertia. This means that forces do not keep objects moving. If we look, we have a physics book here that is moving to the right on a table. If I slide it across the table, eventually it's going to come to a stop due to the force of friction. So, as the book slides across the table from left to right, the force of friction acts on the book to slow it down and bring it to rest. Because forces do not keep objects moving, they actually tend to slow them down and cause them to come to a stop. So again, why is that? Well, forces are change, and the object has inertia. If it has inertia, it's going to resist the force as much as possible. That's what inertia is. So again, Newton's first law, we've talked about balanced versus unbalanced forces. If we have balanced forces, and this is again a misconception that we've gone over a few times in class. If the object is at rest, it's going to stay at rest. If the object is in motion, it will stay in motion unless they're acted upon by an outside force. So basically, to keep it simple, objects are going to keep doing what they're doing unless something changes that motion. How does this apply to your life? Well, you guys are young freshmen, some of you guys are sophomores, and most of the time, this time in your life, you're thinking about getting your driver's license and learning how to drive. Well, inertia has a big impact in case you get in trouble with driving. So what happens to you during a collision in terms of the law of inertia? Again, this video link will be posted for you in the comment section on the YouTube video. So, to review, inertia. Objects tend to resist change in the motion. That's what inertia is. It's the object's tendency to resist change. Inertia is going to depend upon the mass of the object. The more massive the object is, the more inertia the object has. Forces are going to keep objects from moving. They're not going to get objects moving, but basically keep objects moving. And then objects won't move unless they are acted upon by unbalanced force. If you have an unbalanced force, that means you're going to have some acceleration, speeding up, slowing down, change of direction. Therefore, you're going to have some type of motion.